So the third thing that can worsen your mental health is unresolved trauma. This is important for a couple of reasons. Let's start with childhood, right? When we were kids, all of us, when we were kids, certain things happened to us during our formative years that shaped us and helped us become the people that we are, right? Some amazing things happened to us, some okay things, and some traumatic things, right? The traumatic things that happened to us, depending on what it was and depending on what happened to you, it's difficult to talk about those things, right? Because depending on the nature of what happened, it might be weird sharing it with somebody else, right? But when you don't share that stuff with like a therapist, or you confide in a friend, when you don't talk about those things, the trauma follows you like a shadow, right? Your shadow never really leaves. Like, you can never outrun your shadow. I feel like trauma is the same way, right? If you've been through significant trauma as a child, sometimes you forget that you're traumatized until you become an adult, and then you're in a relationship and you realize that you have a hard time standing up for yourself, or you have a hard time speaking up and enforcing boundaries, because as a child you weren't given a safe space to talk or express yourself, or you didn't even know that you had a say in the matter, because maybe your parents were like, oh, we're the parents and you're the kid, or maybe it was emotional abuse or physical abuse or sexual abuse. All of these things, when you don't work through it, can really damage your mental health. And that's why, we say therapy is helpful, but just also a community, because you don't want to feel like you're the only person going through a certain thing, right? If you're in a circle of people, right, and you've gone through, let's say, emotional abuse, right? I post the gaslighting videos, right? And some of those you all have really connected with it. If you've been through emotional abuse and gaslighting, right, and you don't have any friends that are talking about it, right, and you're talking to your friends, you're like, hey, have you ever been in a relationship where, your partner made you question everything, and you felt like you were stupid, or you felt like you couldn't remember things, or you just felt like a useless human being? If you tell it to your friends and your friends are like, I don't know what you're talking about, you're going to feel like you're the only person who's going through that thing. And, there's nothing worse. Well, it's just worse things, but going through something all by yourself, or feeling like you have to, is an awful feeling. So that's why community is important. That's why therapy is important. That's why sharing experiences are important. That's why entertainers are important, right? When your favorite athlete or whoever comes out and says, oh, I've been struggling with body dysmorphia since I was 17, then you're like, oh my gosh, so-and-so was so pretty. I didn't know this person struggled with it, but it makes you feel a little less alone, right? So that's why, we talk about isolation and how that can be harmful. But the same way, the unresolved trauma, it's good to talk about things so you can get through it, right? Because I don't want the trauma to follow you like a shadow for the rest of your life. Because like right now, we're in the present moment, right? It's October 20th, Thursday, unless you're in like the Philippines and it's Friday. But regardless of the matter, we're in the present right now, right? And we're responsible for our lives in the future. So we have to figure out, how can we set ourselves up for success? And one good way to do that is by talking and working through trauma, especially if you're somebody if you're not married right now. I'm not married. I hope to be married one day. My little joke is that I need a wife with ADHD who understands what I'm going through, who can also show up late to places like me. But like, I do know that, and that's why you have marriage counseling and therapy and things like that. No, but I do know that if you're single and you want to enter into a relationship, like, therapy is, I can't call it mandatory because I can't tell you what to do, but it's a really good idea. It'll help you learn yourself better. And then you can explain to your partner, hey, I have ADHD, so this is why I get grumpy on some days, or this is why I get moody, or boom, 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 or I get depressed, so I need help cleaning the house, right? It's good to know yourself. With unresolved trauma, being able to work through it, you're going to liberate yourself of a lot of dead weight that you're carrying on your back for no reason. Like, you don't have to carry all that dead weight, right? And until people came along and told me, hey, Kojo, you don't have to like put this all on your back. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I don't. And like, I feel lighter on my feet. And grief is grief. No one should put it into the category. Lisa, I agree with you. Comments. Yeah. Holloway. The Pan Olympics, and I've been a part of this before, where I'm like, no, I went through this. I experienced this or that, or discrimination, or racist, or whatever, and that's a valid. Whatever I experienced was valid. But you don't have to be like, all right, I had it worse than you. You had it. I used to do that. So now I don't want to do it again. Let me see what Joshua said. The worst feeling I find is being smart enough to know what I have to do to get through the trauma or events currently plaguing me. As a lifetime of trauma buildup, and I'm tired, I feel like never ends, and I'm exhausted from dealing with the stuff I'm working through. All right, let me talk about this for a second. So what Joshua's saying is actually really real. So when you're aware of the fact that you have to fix something about your life, but you don't know how to go about doing it, and you're tired of feeling that way, it's an awful place to be in, because you know that you got to make a change, but you don't know how to make the change. So you're just kind of stuck in that purgatory, and you're like, man, this is just a shitty feeling, right? But I don't want you to default into the helpless role. Like, there is something you can do, and you gotta start small. Right? You have to learn how to celebrate the now, and nothing wrong with that. Figure out what's going on right now in your life that you enjoy. How can you capitalize on that, right? And what don't you like? And it may take years to do this, or months, but slowly try and like remove the things that you don't enjoy, or things that are, what can you drop right now in your life that's not serving you? Actually, that's a good question for everybody right now. I have that question. What can you drop right now in your life that's not serving you? And I'm gonna do my best to answer right now too. I gotta think about my answer. I'm not sure what it would be, but like I know it's gotta be something. What can you drop right now from your life? Something that's not serving you. Andrea says shaming myself. Oof, I like that. Material things, too many. Oh, I like that. Teresa says she would drop a person that always hurts my feelings. Okay. Negative thoughts. That's close to mine. Being fueled off of negative energy is where I would drop from my life, because I used to use like a negative event and I would use that to motivate me. But now I'm working on being kinder to myself. Ryan says that drop the past. Lindsay would drop things I don't need, so I have less clutter to clean up, and mom guilt. Okay, dropping those two things would make you feel better about yourself. If I could free myself from guilt, that would, yeah. And look, Laura, if you were able to free yourself from guilt, yeah, you're right. You would relieve a lot of anxiety, and it would be natural. Like, that's the best way to address an issue, like naturally, right? And I'm still a big supporter of antidepressants and anxiolytics and Buspar and all these wonderful things that we have for anxiety. But if you're able to relieve yourself of the anxiety by doing this, then right, the less meds the better, right? Even though I do believe in meds,